All right, it's May 26, 2012. This is HRM Caesar St. Augustine de Buonaparte, also known as Reality Supreme Being, on the air on YouTube. And we're talking about part 2 and 9/11 and these so-called idiots running for president. None of them are qualified, not even the one that's in there now. Anyway, let's talk about, we were talking about 9/11 and anomalies and how, and my delusions of grandeur, excuse the pun, they're not delusions. They're just a choice. And whoever wants to hear these choices, fine. If you don't, well, that's fine. You don't want to hear things anyway. In the 9/11 lone gunman thing, there is a total of the videos I saw on the right and the actual 9-minute one. There's a total of like less than 10,000 people that have looked at those videos. Now, about half that number died. People died in the World Trade Center. Okay? And when you think of it, when you see a video on Lady Gaga or half scantily dressed women, you've got millions and millions of views. But something like 9/11, very little interest. Now, what does that tell you about human nature? I've said this before. What it tells you about human nature is that it isn't where it's supposed to be. As a matter of fact, right now, if I were to sit this way, see, now the guys are going to be looking at that rear that you just saw. And I might get a lot of views because they'll want to see the woman who was standing there, or the one that's standing behind me there. And they're all, you know, what is it? That people would rather reproduce and let their animal instincts be all motivated and turned on with all those millions of views and totally ignore the stuff that's really important. Like that could all, that there, right there, could all end tomorrow, starting tomorrow. It could all end with another disease scare, Ebola, poison foods. So let's explain it this way. With the typhus scare, you remember Typhoid Mary? I'm going to expand on that. Like I said, you people aren't interested. The lone gunman was taped. It was released on the air 6 months before the actual 9/11 event took place. And before that, 8 years before that, I predicted 9/11 in a giant letter to the White House, the Clinton White House. Now, all the anomalies that or the $20 bill you fold to look at the representation of the White House. You know, how's that possible? So, with typhus and the fact that they're carried by fleas, here's what could happen. People get infected, and although it won't work like Ebola, where it's an uncontrolled spread of the disease, this one's a little bit more controlled. It's more isolated. Because if somebody in a home gets typhus, oh, they may get all those symptoms and all that. But during that time, you know, they're working, they're talking with other people. But if they're working with food, they can infect other people like Typhoid Mary did. They can infect their offspring, their sons, their daughters. They can affect anyone that's eating in the home. So with that in mind, all somebody has to do is take fleas and start putting them in, scattering them in any of the food. Now, of course, the scientists will tell you it takes a flea bite in order to transmit the typhus. I'll call it the typhus anomaly. But even with that, the spread of it could spread into your foods. And that's how people got it with Typhoid Mary. So, it's an interesting picture because, the newsman, like I said in my first video, part 1, it said they've never had anything like that before. Bubonic plague appeared in a couple of squirrels a few years ago, but even that's pretty much nipped in the bud. Now, the white man gave smallpox blankets to the Indians back in the beginning of this country, which was the first form of biological attack. Intentional, of course. So my guess is that this thing has been transmitted by somebody on purpose. And I don't care what the experts say or what they tell you on the news. What they tell you on the news is nothing but a bunch of lies. And their lies are there to protect you. They don't want you to know that someone is intentionally raising mosquitoes to spread West Nile virus or the bird flu, or raising animals with fleas intentionally that have typhus so that they can continue. And even if it is a coincidence, just think, if there are any Al-Qaeda members and they start a lone wolf program like the lone gunman, they'll start secretly keeping cats and dogs everywhere. They may even go underground and raise them where they need to raise them and then dump them off in an area. Now, cats in a truck, a closed and enclosed van, would be very easily to contaminate an area. You can't catch all the cats. They're very, very quick creatures. And the cats will give it to the possums, and the possums are all over the place. So what are you going to do? Climb every palm tree to get every squirrel and every possum? The fleas will jump on rats. The fleas will jump on cats. The fleas will jump on possums. The fleas will jump on dogs. You got a problem, Mr. USA, Uncle Sam. You've got a millstone hung around your neck by your own doing, by paying taxes and killing innocent men, women, and children in Iraq and Afghanistan. Your whole country is guilty of doing crazy, stupid stuff. That's okay with me. You've already done it to me. You've caused me 10 years of total unhappiness, destruction, all using the color of law. So it's not surprising to hear a person talk like me. It shouldn't be surprising at all. You'll just have to grin and bear it, as they say, for all the damages that have been done. So let's talk about why people are less interested in looking at the fact that prediction things do happen. And that many times, many people are very forewarned about all of the things that they predict. And instead of making preparations for guarding yourself in case of this eventuality, like you would prepare for an earthquake, have an earthquake package, a rescue package if there was an earthquake, that you have something to fall back on. So anyway, the crux of everything that I have recorded is it's just a matter of time before, like I said, you people are going to be looking for solutions from places you've never looked in, from poor people that you've never talked to. And those people are going to turn away from you and not give you any help because you don't deserve help when you've hurt so many people. So let's see. So what else is there to talk about on a Saturday, a couple of days before Memorial Day? You know, whatever happens with Al-Qaeda, if there are any attacks, it'll be slow. By the way, when you pick up a pathogen, I was mentioning Fort Detrick in one of my other tapes today. Fort Detrick and the 1,300 pathogens worldwide, and there's only 13 vaccines out of those 1,300 pathogens. What's really interesting is that when you get a pathogen, it's like a 20-day incubation period. That's what it takes. But there's more to pathogens than just a 20-day incubation period. For instance, Fort Detrick has something stocked on their shelves called gas gangrene. Can you imagine suffocating to death because you've got gangrene in your lungs from breathing a gas that has gangrene in it? So the world goes on with nobody helping, nobody in a monetary position to help me or protect me. They've taken all of my valuables. They've taken all my cars, my trucks, my boats, my motorhomes, and I'm not going to stop talking about it till the day I die. I will curse this country. And on top of it, you kept me prisoner here. That's pretty much what you've done. I don't have the money to leave. If I had the money to leave with my hard worked for possessions, a person has a right to take their possessions with them, no matter what they are. And you took that from me. Now, the first people in line who I put full blame on is the city of Los Angeles and all the people that are working in those units. Then, after that, the state, because I went to the state and asked for state legislature if there was any way they could help. Then I went to federal government and emailed them letters, please help me. Totally ignored. I don't know why. I know they'll say, well, we get thousands, hundreds of thousands. How can we pick his out of hundreds of thousands of faxes? Easy. You know me because I phone hacked the White House for more than 10 years. You know, by dialing 202-456, and then I just pick numbers at random, like the street across the street over here. I can see the numbers, the address, whatever the address is, 5232, and I dial that number. Because what the Secret Service does, their phone system, what they do is they jump numbers. They go from 9999 to 0000. So if you dial any of those 4-digit numbers, like a PIN code, you sold the end of the Social Security number, 4 digits, the last 4 digits of the Social Security number. You could use those numbers, and you just call that number, 456. Now, a lot of times, on any of the numbers that you try, you'll get, you've reached a non-working number at the White House. Or you've reached, now they say, you've reached a non-working number. During the Reagan period and the Bush period, the old man Bush, the first Bush, it was, you've reached the wrong number at the White House. But now, it isn't. Now they just say, you've reached the wrong number. So somebody in the Secret Service or security forces was thinking, evidently, they said, well, let's not tell them it's the White House anymore. Let's just say it's the wrong number. Anyway, in those numbers, I left them messages, all these messages, hints and pieces of a lot of the messages you see on my more than 190 videos now. But I've never gotten any support to run for mayor, even though I have in Los Angeles. That idiot Vigorosa in the last election said he doesn't have to debate anybody. Listen to that. I mean, I'm going, well, even the president debates someone, so why shouldn't he? But they have this thing called separation of powers where the federal government can't tell the local government how to handle their affairs in politics or in whatever other things they're doing. But yet the federal government come in and bust all the marijuana houses because the DEA is enforcing something on a federal level. but the state says it's okay. Contradictory beyond imagination. All right, well, it's 15 minutes. I'm going to hop off now for a while, and maybe I'll do another one today. I don't know. We'll see.